Okay, in this step we're going to be attaching the 3 brake lines on the rear axle, and we're going to start by taking off the vent tube. I would note that you should watch your head in this step, because if you're sitting down, you're inevitably going to hit it unless you do, so watch your head. We'll start with this little vent nubbin, or little screw, on the rear axle. Just unscrew it with your hands, a little orange one, painted black on the back, and then you can discard that. And then the next step is you'll take the rear axle vent side, which looks like this, to the rear upper control arm connection, and you'll slide it down in front of that vent tube, and you'll want to know that it's got the round end pointing down and the square end pointing up, and then you want the side with the small connection on the passenger side and the side with the big connection on the driver's side. And so then you'll take this little barb fitting, which goes to the vent, you'll slide it through, and you'll hand tighten. And then we'll come back to that in a second. And then you're going to take the smaller driver's side brake line, and you're going to see that there's a little castle or boss on the outside. You're going to want that to be pointing backward and to be pointing inboard. And so you'll see it's got a flat edge on this side. You're going to want that flat edge to mate up against the caliper over here. And we'll take out a little green pin and discard that. And then we'll take a banjo bolt, and the banjo bolt will have a copper washer that you just spread down, a crush washer that you spread down, and you put that into the boss side of the fitting for the brake line. And then you'll take another crush washer and you'll put that down on the other side, and then you'll put it again with the square side facing the square catch right here on the caliper, and you'll just screw it down by hand, making sure to clear that square catch on the back with the brake line pointing rearward. Once you're done, hand tighten. And then you come around and you're just going to kind of manhandle this into place, and you'll see if you can get the brake line up to the vent holder. And then you just use your hands to hand tighten. Make sure not to cross thread these. Helps a little bit probably if you have somebody tightening, holding it there. And you'll want to hold the brake line on this side just to make sure. If you point it down a little bit there, Mike, that'd be good. Okay. Bring the brake line all the way to the end and present it with the flared side right up where the bolt is, and then you should be able to screw it in. Meaning you want to pull that nut all the way down to the end where the flare is before you present it into the hole. And then when you get that right, you can go back and you grab this little squiggly and you push it up into the farthest out of the 2 holes that are in the rear axle, and then you align it with the other hole. You take one of these silver screws, you put it in the hole. That's there, and this is just going to hold this in place, and you use the impact gun with the 10mm socket, and you're pretty safe to do this from the beginning because it's just got a little bit of a self-tapper on it. You just gently put it into place, don't have to go too hard. And that's that. Then we'll move along to the other side here, and now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of align the passenger side, longer side of this, and there are a couple things to watch out for here. First of all, you can start down on the other end where you take the nut, you slide it all the way up to where the flare is, come down to where the fitting is again, and then what you'll want to do is you want to just screw it in. Helps if you have somebody just holding that long end of the brake line over there, and you would just want to make sure you're not cross-threaded again, and you'll feel it when it goes in easily. So you do that, hand tighten it down as far as you can, again into the side that's holding the vent tube or the vent barb. And then we're going to come over here, and what we want to do is we want to make sure that this piece does not get caught or touching these bolts here, but is definitely pushed in so that it is clear of these bolts sliding back and forth. And we'll check this back when we come back. The other thing you're going to want to make sure is you're going to want to make sure that it's clear of these hard edges. So we'll come and place that when we come back. And then over on this side, what you're going to do is you just drop it lightly into this little cradle, and we'll come back and fix that too to make sure it's in the right place. And then coming over, just like we did before, you've got this side for the brake line. You're going to fold it around with the boss pointing inward and back. You're going to take out your little green plug. You're going to take a banjo bolt with the crush washer already in it, put it into the side with the boss. Then you're going to take another crush washer, put it onto the end of the banjo bolt, and you're going to mate the back rear flat face to the flat face on the caliper like you did on the other side. And then you're just going to get that in place, and you use the banjo bolt and do it by hand to make sure you're not cross-threaded. very important step here to make sure you don't get it cross-threaded. So pull it back out. Maybe just see it a little bit better this way. There we go. And slide it all the way in. And tighten it down with your hand to make sure that the flat faces meet each other on the back. And then when that's in hand-tight place, we'll come over and we'll take the silver squiggly again, put it into the farthest left side or farthest toward the driver's side, and then we'll take the silver screw and put it in the hole. And again, this is just used to keep this in place so you can use it right from the beginning with the impact gun. Just lightly, that's how that should go. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come over and we're actually going to tap these down out of the way. And the reason for this is we're going to push these down like this and tap them down into place, because when this axle comes all the way up, it comes very close to this part right here. And we want to make sure that this part of the brake line doesn't get hit by this as the axle comes all the way up past. So if we knock it down underneath, it just knocks the support. You want to make sure just to hit just the support and nothing else, and then you should be good. And then we'll come over to the other side and we'll do the same thing. Hitting just the little wire support there. Should be good. Okay. Now you can see we've got to come back and tweak this. This brake line right here is way out, and it needs to be tucked way up here in order to be able to clear it. So you'll want to tweak the brake line and manhandle it. And basically, what you're looking for is for it to travel as close up here above these bolts as possible and not clip these side corners at all. And so you'll need to bend the brake line a little bit in order to be able to get that. But hopefully in the future we'll have it bent so that it comes in just where you need it to be, so it doesn't. But roughly up here is where you want it to be. And then you'll tighten down all your brake lines, and that's the end of this step.